Hello chess friends and welcome to your of Chess channel and welcome to the day 3 of the Meltwater Champions Chess Tour finals in 2022. So we're following now a beautiful sharp tactical game from this round. We're following now the beautiful game between Magnus Carlsen and Shakir Mamedjadov. Magnus Carlsen and the young Qxc4 are the only players that have 2 wins out of the first 2 rounds. So it's already now critical moment of this event. It's really a heated round now. Whoever maybe makes a draw or loses the match today will have, I think, not so many great chances to win the tournament. So it's now really important to follow what is Magnus Carlsen doing, but also what is young Qxc4 doing. These are now the top favorites to win the whole tournament. So let's start now with this beautiful game. I've sorted out this game from this round 1 because whatever happens now in this game, it doesn't matter. Still, Shakir Mamedjadov and Magnus Carlsen will have to play 3 more games. But I've sorted out this game because I think it has a very important lecture about defensive strategies when you face pawn storms. When you face pawn storms, many of us, I think, start to sweat. Many of us don't know what to do. How should I defend this position? How to make progress? How to defend this pawn storm when it's coming to you? And there are certain defensive strategies I think here Magnus Carlsen will also apply. So it's, I think, a great game, but also quite instructive game because I think here Magnus really applied the most important principles, and the most important principles are basically to split the pawn chain, to let them a little bit explode, that the position is not so dynamic, that the pawns are not connected, and you should stop the pawns, you should block them, not allow these pawns to move. So I think both of these beautiful strategies were applied here by Magnus. So as I said, although it's a sharp tactical game, I think it's also a beautiful instructive game here by Carlsen and Mamedjadov. So let's check out now the game. Magnus opened now with the move knight to f3. Shak's response was d5. We have g3. The king's Indian attack was Magnus Carlsen's choice. Really a brave idea already. We have g6. So Mamedjadov is going into the symmetrical variation. We have bishop to g2, bishop to g7, d4, and knight for knight to f6. We have now a perfect symmetry. Now we have kingside castling, and now c4. This is really a dynamic move which creates now already the tension in the center of the board. Shak goes into this solid line, into this really fixed line with the move c6. You can of course do other things, but this is now the way to go. If white wants to take, then white doesn't gain so much. I think after c takes d5, c takes d5, the pawn structure is symmetrical again, and whenever the pawn structure is symmetrical like this, I think you don't have so many chances to win the game. So that's why here after move knight to after move c6, pardon me, here Magnus pulled off the move knight to c3, and the preparation is now to play moves like queen to b3, bishop to f4, knight to e5. This is now a slow build up here by Magnus Carlsen, where he could maybe continue the pressure around the square d5. So still we have this tension in the board, in the center of the board, and now Shak makes a great choice. He plays now really the wildest line, d takes c4, and look how this position explodes just in one move. So we have now really a pawn majority here by black. Black is here 4 versus 2 pawns on the queen side, so probably black is going to push here some pawns and create some madness on this side of the board. On the other hand, white is of course the dominant position in the center of the board, will eventually push the pawn on e4 and will have a great control of the center of the board. It's now really a double-edged opening. In the continuation, Magnus of course continues now with the move e4, and now Shak goes with the move b5. This is the way to go. The serious threat is of course b4, attacking the knight that controls now the e4 square. In one game already they played this year in June 2022, here Mamedjadov played bishop to g4. The game led into a wild tactical sequence. h3 was played, bishop to f3. Shak tried to break the position with the move e5, and now Magnus split the pawn chain here. Played now the move e6, destroyed here really Mamedjadov with his beautiful bishop's activity, with both of these beautiful bishops that were coordinated towards the king side. So it was simply a one-way ticket, I think, this particular game. So that's why Mamedjadov probably he memorizes his games against Magnus Carlsen, so he chooses now a different line. He played now the move b5, as we said, with the preparation to play b4, deflecting the knight from the defense of the pawn on e4 and simply threatening to take out the pawn. So now one beautiful move by Magnus. He's saying, I'm protecting now my pawn on e4, but what Magnus is hoping that black is doing is that black exposes himself with the move b4. Look how things can go wrong, although you have maybe a perfect attack. You're playing now just knight to a4, and you have stopped a little bit here really black's progress. In the near future we can play b3, bishop to f4, knight to e5, but I think we can agree that this pawns are not so dynamic anymore. They're not so mobile anymore. So that's why after queen to e2, here Shach continues with his plan. He's trying to connect more pawns. Now he's trying b4 later, maybe then a4 and similar stuff. So he's connecting more pawns. That's the way to go when you are creating madness with your pawns. You should really keep them connected. And here in the continuation, Magnus plays now rook to d1. Very important also move. If something gets cleared, maybe with c5, d takes c5, then the queen could be endangered. So in this particular move order, black needs to lose another tempo in order to secure the queen further. So we have now knight from b to d7 by Shach, and now Magnus pulls off a beautiful, brutal, centralizing attack here with the move d5. He opens the position immediately because we have to agree, Magnus has two powerful knights already in the center of the board. The bishop is active. This bishop, although it didn't play, but I think we can agree again that it's very active because it has a certain activity, at least on this diagonal. The rook is very powerful. The queen is already on a good square, so why shouldn't we break the center? It's a perfect decision here by Magnus. After move d5, c takes d5, and now Magnus plays a beautiful move e5. And now Shach makes a big choice. Here, Mamedjadov, the great tactician. I really love his games because Mamedjadov is such a brilliant player. He has really brilliant ideas. He simply sacrifices one piece here just in order to create a really beautiful queenside attack and central pawn. So really brave decision against Magnus. He played now the move b4, obviously, with e takes f6. Okay, still the bishop is hanging. Here knight to f6, but look what Shach and Mamedjadov gained here. He connected now 4 pawns here on the queenside. Of course, we can agree the pawn on the e file will be also connected. So we have now, I think, 5 pawns that are really storming now in the center of the board and in the here on the queen side. So Magnussen's now really challenged here. Here I think many of us wouldn't even know what to do because there is now a dirty trap that Mamedjadov prepared here. Many of us would play the game like this with the move knight to d5. But actually, this would be a huge mistake, and Magnus didn't fall for this. That's what I liked about this game. This game is so sharp that you can go wrong in many ways. After move knight to d5, and maybe White even calculated this. Maybe this wasn't played in the game, but look how you can really fall for this. Rook to d5, queen to d5, and you're playing knight to g5, attacking the queen. The queen cannot protect the rook, and you feel secure because you're sensing the position. Okay, I have a perfect attack now. I have 3 minor pieces. Black has only 2 minor pieces, but actually this is not working. Look what happens. Bishop to a6. Now, for instance, White retreats now, and now with the move c3, White is getting destroyed. This is really brutal. This is really a monstrous preparation that Shach has prepared here against Magnus Carlsen. Many things can go wrong. You play maybe something like queen to e3. Look, this pawn is hanging. We can even play queen to d3, trading off the queen. So it's simply a lost game now for White, although White is still an extra piece, which is really devastating. But look what Magnus is doing. So after move knight to f6, Magnus now plays the correct move. He plays now knight to b5. He didn't take out the knight and the pawn on d5. Great decision by the world champion, and he's trying now to stop somehow this pawn chain. He's trying to somehow maybe play a blockade around the square d4. He's trying also to stop this pawns with a4. So he's trying now to really split the pawn chain. We can split the pawn chain maybe with a3. That's one of the main defensive strategies. What you can do here after b takes a3. Okay, then the pawns are not connected anymore. Or you can split the pawn chain. So for instance, if black plays something like e6, then you want to block the pawn structure with knight to d4. Maybe then you playing afterwards f4. You're not allowing maybe e5 to come. So we're playing sort of a blockade against the potential advance of the pawn. So this is now the main strategy: split the pawn chain or stop the pawn chain. Nothing else is working here, although you are up a piece, but this is not really easy to play. And for instance, the Stockfish evaluates this position as equal, so nothing special White gained here. Black is here really now a brutal position too. So in the continuation, e6 was played by Mamedjadov. Now the first choice by Magnus Carlsen, a4, bishop to a6. Black is continuing now the game with this beautiful pawn activity in the center of the board. We have knight from f to d4, and look at this. Magnus is slowly but surely building his central blockade here. He's trying to really play this game like a hedgehog. He's keeping everything glued together, everything compact. After move bishop to b5, Magnus plays now a beautiful choice. A takes b5. He's trying now to play the move knight to c6, and he's trying to play a blockade. As I said, again, we're trying to stop the pawn chain. We're trying to play now the move rook to a4. And now Mamedjadov makes maybe his first mistake in the game. He plays rook to e8. Although the better choice, instead of this move rook to e8, you have to keep your pawn chain. You have to play a4. That's now the way to go. Look at this. Now suddenly 3 pawns would be connected, and this is not easy to defend. The only way to make something out of this position then afterwards is to play knight to c6. Actually, black should play queen to b6. There is not a good square here. You cannot play here queen to d6. That's now the main issue, because you get queen to c4. After d takes c4, will pick up here the queen, so this is not the way to go. You cannot play queen to e7 in order to protect your pawn on b4. You have to play queen to b6. But now white can take out this pawn. This would be very important, but still after queen to b5, black has here some chances, especially because of in the near future, as we said, e4, e5, pardon me, could happen, d4. Now the game changes, I think, a little bit more towards the center. I think now black still could have great activities here in the center of the board. So a4 was the way to go, at least connect these 3 pawns, and now white would be forced to play this solid line with the move knight to c6, but still black, I think, has some chances. In the game, rook to e8 was played, and now Magnus uses this moment. He plays now b3. As we said, we want to split the pawn chain or stop the pawn chain. If you play here c takes b3 like Mamedjadov did, we're playing now the move rook to a4. Look how one rook paralyzes now the whole attack here by black on the queen side. If you play something like c3, again we're playing rook to a4, and okay, maybe you're keeping your pawn chain, but look at this knight is controlling c2, and suddenly these 3 pawns are not so important anymore. At least they're stopped for a while. So again, this would be a much better continuation here for white, and white still has also passer here, which could be also very annoying then in the continuation of the game. So everything went wrong, I think, first of all, after this move rook to e8 instead of a4. But okay, here in the continuation, b3 was played by Magnus. He stopped now the progress. We have c takes b3, rook to a4, not allowing this pawn to be connected anymore. The b3 pawn will be taken anyway. So we have now knight to d7, knight to b3, knight to b6, and look at this. Magnus just grabs another pawn, and he defended his position from this point on. I think it's a one-way ticket. It's game over. Rook to a5, knight to a5, knight to a4, knight to c6. The knight is now coming into the game. Queen knight to c3. We have a fork here, but here Magnus escapes from this attack. Queen to d3. Still the queen is hanging here on d8. In the continuation, Mamedjadov tried queen to b6. Rook to e1 gets out of this attack by the knight. Queen to b5. Magnus simplifies the game enough. I think this is good, because you want to have a simplified line now. Without the queens, of course, the game is not so dynamic. Now Magnus finds again a new beautiful tactical shot. Bishop to d5, grabs another pawn. So as I said, this is now completely winning endgame here for white, because white has an extra pawn. As we said, no attacking chances anymore. Okay, you have this passer, but it doesn't matter anymore. Everything is stopped for a while. So in the continuation, bishop to c3, rook to e2, of course, staying on this file, because it's very important to keep the rook on the e file where you can pick it up. So here in the continuation, we have king to g7, we have bishop to c4, attacking the knight, knight to d6, bishop to d3, rook to c8. Now the knight is coming here on a5, controls also the further progress of b3. You're not allowing b3, then b2 could be maybe very unpleasant here for white. So that's why knight to a5, very nice defensive move again by Magnus. We have e5, king to g2, f5, rook to c2. We have king to f6, knight to b3. Again, you see how we stop pawn mobilities with a beautiful blockade. Knight to b3, again a beautiful defensive move. g5, and after rook to a2. In this position, Shakhtar Mamedjadov resigned because there's simply no good progress anymore. The rook is coming into the game. This pawn is weak. The bishops will be simply lined up on b1 and c1. And the rook will come into the game actively on the 6th rank with the support of the beautiful bishop pair. And of course, in the later stage with the knight, this is not a good game for black. So as I said, Mamedjadov decided to resign here. So great game, I think, by Magnus. First of all, this beautiful opportunity in the beginning where things could have gone wrong with this move knight to d5. I think many of us would be tempted to play the game like this. Look what happens. So this would be devastating. You're keeping your pieces active here, but actually you're falling into a beautiful opening trap actually after bishop to a6 and c3. this is not a good game anymore for white. So okay, great game for warm-up of the day 3. Incredible performance here again by Magnus Carlsen. He played the game without inaccuracies, mistakes, or blunders. You can put the PGN into the Stockfish engine at home. I'm not sure how many moves maybe the Stockfish engine would play differently here than Magnus Carlsen. Again, incredible performance, and again, Magnus Carlsen is probably the top favorite to win a new tournament. So okay, I hope that you enjoyed this analysis. If you want to see maybe more games that we have covered so far in this event, check out my coverage. Here are some games that we have analyzed before. And if you like this content, don't forget to subscribe to my channel. See you soon with some more videos, and what to say, chess is the best, of course.